When it first arrived in the rivers of the Bolivian Amazon, some local people feared it was a monster. Now the paiche, a very large freshwater fish, has created a major fishing industry. But while it's providing a living for hundreds of fishermen, there are fears its voracious appetite could be endangering the hundreds of different indigenous fish which throng Bolivia's rivers. Bob Howard reports on whether this invasive species is a blessing or a curse.
I'm on a fishing boat on the Yata River in Bolivia, the landlocked South American country which, alongside 9 others like Peru and Brazil, forms part of the huge Amazon basin. I'm with Johnny Nocco, a local fisherman who makes his living catching the paiche, a giant carnivorous freshwater fish which has invaded this river and others throughout the country.
When I'm in the lagoon and I see a paiche coming up for air, I have to go very slowly and not make any noise because they can hear the sound of the canoe and they escape. When it comes up for air again, that's when I throw the net.
Guillermo Otaparum has been a fisherman for more than 50 years. He's at a paiche processing plant in the northeastern city of Riberalta to sell the fish he's just caught.
When the paiche arrived, I thought this fish was a water snake, that it would attack everything. They said that it was a wild beast and eating it would be bad for you, that it might be poisonous.
The paiche is one of the biggest freshwater fishes in the world, growing up to 4 metres in length and weighing 200 kilograms or more. Every year, it's estimated the paiche expands into another 40 kilometres of the rivers in the Amazon basin, which are some of the most diverse habitats in the world. Federico Moreno, director of the Beni Autonomous University's Centre for Aquatic Resources Research, says its size and appetite make it a serious threat to native fish stocks.
Es un pez territorial.
It is a territorial fish. It takes over a body of water and scares off the native species. It is a serious problem. The other species flee from it.
No one really knows the exact year that the paiche started to arrive in Bolivia, but it's generally believed it was the result of a breach of a paiche fish farm in Peru, where the fish are native, which led them to being released into Bolivia's rivers. Fernando Carvajal is a biologist and expert on the paiche.
During the first years of life, paiche grow at a rate of 10 kilograms a year. That means that the paiche is eating a lot of fish.
Unlike other predatory fish like the piranha, it doesn't have big razor-sharp teeth. Instead, it hoovers up fish like a giant vacuum cleaner. At the same time, it frightens off any fish which try to eat its own young. However, for local fishermen, it's been a boon. Edson Susano runs a paiche processing plant in Riberalta.
We sell it everywhere, supermarkets, markets. We buy and process around 30,000 kilograms per month.
As well as providing employment, the paiche is also a healthy form of protein for Bolivians. Scientists like Federico Moreno hope that fishing will keep paiche numbers in check and protect Bolivia's extraordinary biodiversity.
Keep fishing for them all the time, and that could keep a balance between the different species.
Federico Moreno ending that report by Bob.
The world's oldest dog has died at the age of 31. Bobby, a Guinness World Record holder, passed away at his home in Portugal at the weekend. He was a crossbreed mountain sheepdog, and his lifestyle and diet will be studied by dog lovers everywhere, keen to give their pets the longest life possible. Paul Henley heard more from Karen Becker, an American vet and author who went to visit Bobby as part of the research for her latest book.
Bobby is an easygoing, very laid-back, very happy dog that has had this abundant life living outside, eating fresh food in a very low-stress, happy environment. In the village he was born, in fact, in the house that he was born at.
He was a big dog, wasn't he? And we're always told it's the smaller breeds that live the longest.
You know, he is a Rafale, the Portuguese term for mixed breed or a mutt. And Bobby was not a purebred dog, despite a lot of people reporting him as such. Lionel's father was a hunter and collected many mixed breed dogs over the years. And Bobby was a mixed breed dog that was actually born in a shed behind their home. And he was a larger dog for being as old as he was. He was a 55-pound dog, and he was actually a little overweight in the second part of his life, which is also an interesting fact that typically doesn't correlate with extra longevity. But in Bobby's situation, I really think it was his lifestyle, as well as probably a good set of excellent DNA that contributed to his exceptionally long-lived life.
And we hear that he ate Mediterranean food from the garden. There must have been some meat involved, though, was there?
Yes, there certainly was. So Lionel and his family grow much of the food that they eat. They have a massive garden. Bobby is free to roam. He'd never been on a leash in his whole life. He's free to roam, and he nibbled from the garden every day. But he also never consumed any ultra-processed dog food. So he never had dry food or kibble or canned food. His family prepared his meals every day, fresh from the garden, as well as raising rabbits and chickens and also fish. Every day, Bobby would eat a piece of fish that his family prepared for him. So he did eat a lot of meat and then freshly prepared vegetables as well.
And just like an ingredient in human longevity, love seems to have been involved, being popular.
Is so true. In fact, when I asked Lionel what he thought were the most powerful contributors to Bobby's exceptionally long life, he said good food, contact with nature, freedom to move around his environment, really good vet care, and love. He said, I believe that Bobby knows that he's deeply loved. And I would say after seeing Bobby's interaction with his entire family, Bobby absolutely knew that he was very well loved.
Did Bobby have puppies? They must be much in demand.
You know, Bobby was intact. He was not neutered, but to Lionel's knowledge, he has not sired any litters. But right now, we are testing his DNA. When I was there, I did some DNA samples for Aniko Kubinli, which is the head researcher for the Family Dog Project out of Hungary. And she was actually the researcher that identified the DNA of exceptionally long-lived dogs that she called Methuselah dogs. So we have taken swabs, and right now those samples are being processed to determine if indeed Bobby carried the DNA that powerfully contributed to his extra long life. We don't know the answer yet, but we're all pretty suspicious and confident that he probably has got some pretty good genetic material going on.
Cowbells is often associated with Switzerland, conjuring up images of peaceful pastures with snow-capped mountains in the distance. But what if those bells were right outside your bedroom window at night, clanging loudly around the necks of more than 20 cows, depriving you of sleep? Well, in a Swiss village, farmers who say they rely on the bells to keep track of their cattle are at odds with newcomers to the area. In true Swiss tradition, there'll be the inevitable village-wide vote next month aimed at permitting cowbells at all hours. Our correspondent in the Swiss capital of Bern, Imogen Folks, told us more about the row.
Well, it's all happening in the little village of Aarwang, and I've been there. It's a very nice traditional dairy farming village, very attractive, Alps in the distance. It's also a very easy commute to Bern, Zurich or Basel, so there's quite a bit of new housing there. Population still small, it's less than 5,000, but some of that new housing is right next to the traditional farmhouses and the cows. And in spring and in autumn, the cows are outside all the time. There's a lot of Swiss law about giving domestic animals as much fresh air as possible, and they're wearing their bells day and night. And I'm told 2 of the new incoming families complained to the police, complained to the community. The police came to measure the decibel level. And from there, long-standing locals, friends with the farmers, got really, really angry. And that's what's led to the row that's going on now and this huge debate about what should be done with these bells.
Yes, I suppose no laughing matter. Before we go on, I suppose we should hear some of these bells. So far from peaceful. For many, you've lived in Switzerland a long time. Do the Swiss then want to hold on to their cowbells?
I think many of them do, but probably many of them, unless they've been brought up in this dairy farming tradition, don't necessarily want them outside their bedroom windows. overnight, but they do love them. I mean, if you talk to farmers, they'll show you that they've got bells from their grandfathers and great-grandfathers. You know, they don't actually need them to track their cattle anymore because all the cows are chipped, but they do love the tradition. I mean, if you ever watch a World Cup where Switzerland is playing, you'll see that the fans carry cowbells with them. That's their kind of identity call sound, if you like. But if you live right next to one, this has happened to me, even in the city of Bern. I used to live on the side of a hill where there was a farm. They weren't there all night, but when they came out after being milked in the morning, they came charging out with their bells on about 6. Sometimes, not all the time, it could be quite disturbing. Some villages have said no more bells at night. Some farmers have just got rid of them. But an awful lot, I would say, do still want to keep them. And, you know, tourists do like them if they hear them at a distance, not right under their windows.
Imogen Folks.
Britain's only giant pandas, Tiantian and Yangguan, are on their way back to China after spending the last 12 years at Edinburgh Zoo in Scotland, where they've been on loan. 3 other giant pandas also left the Smithsonian National Zoo in Washington, D.C. last month to spend their dotage in China. Our Scotland correspondent Alex Mackenzie reports.
A final farewell. Edinburgh Zoo has been home to the pandas for more than a decade. At the weekend, staff helped them to acclimatise to these crates, which will be used to help transport the animals back to China. Staff at the zoo became attached to the giant pandas and their very different personalities, and say their departure will be emotional. Some have looked after them since they arrived and will travel with them on their return plane journey.
There's been up and downs, there's been stressful times over the past 12 years, but we've all taken to it in very good spirits. We've all had a great time doing it. I think it will be such a change to our lives, to our day without them being here, and it will definitely be sad and definitely get getting used to kind of fitting into what our new normal is without them being here.
While in Scotland there were 8 attempts at artificial insemination between the pair, but Yangguan and Chen Chen return home having failed to produce a cub. Staff say they will be closely monitored while aboard the plane.
During the flight, I'm not expecting to have major challenges. Yangguan and Tiantian are healthy, so my plan is to feed them plenty of bamboo throughout the flight. I will monitor them very closely, of course, and they will also have one of their favorite keepers with them, so they should be happy.
The official handover of the 2 pandas will take place halfway between Scotland and China. A zookeeper will hand over the keys to the crates, officially ending their time at Edinburgh Zoo.
Now, if you had to ponder the environmental problems facing Latin America, wild hippos would probably not come instantly to mind. And yet, the government of Colombia has been trying for years to contain its own hippo population, most recently announcing a cull. And it all started with the drugs kingpin Pablo Escobar. The Newsroom's Peter Goffin reports.
Pablo Escobar built a billion-dollar empire of crime and bloodshed in the 1980s and 90s. His Medellin cartel was, at one time, the world's biggest supplier of cocaine, and its members are believed to have murdered more than 4,000 people. But Escobar fancied himself a hero of Colombia's working classes. At his luxury ranch, he built a kind of theme park and zoo, where, for free, members of the public could see elephants, giraffes, rhinos, and hippos. When Escobar was killed in a shootout with police in 1993, his assets, including the menagerie, were seized by the authorities, but not before some of the hippos escaped.
They move a lot, and they use the rivers as highways, so they could move kilometers in one day.
Carlos Valderrama is a vet who grew up nearby. He spoke to the BBC last year.
Colombia is a heaven for them. We have plenty of water all year around. You have a lot of grass for them to eat. They did very well.
By the 2000s, people were reporting strange, hulking creatures in and around the Magdalena River, one of Colombia's main waterways. Dr. Valderrama was called in to sterilize one of the hippos about 12 years ago. Another one was killed after it became aggressive. Now, with 166 hippos roaming wild, Colombia says it's launching a cull. Some of the animals will be euthanized, others sterilized, and some will be offered to other countries. Hippos are considered one of the deadliest animals in the world. In their native Africa, they kill hundreds of people each year. For Dr. Valderrama, their presence in Colombia is just another part of Escobar's brutal legacy.
This is one of many problems that he left us. Unfortunately, I had to live through his time. It was a very difficult time for us.
The newsroom's Peter Gothin on the plight of the Colombian hippos. And I certainly wouldn't mess with them. One of them once took a bite out of my boat.
Now, we've talked before about the connections between humans and their animals and what a difference they can make to health and well-being. But what happens when we can't take care of them for unforeseen and unavoidable reasons like homelessness or hospital treatment, when you just don't have anyone who can step in? We've been talking to Christina, who co-founded Rough Haven in Utah in the US, and to pet owner Robin.
There was nothing like this in Utah or even across the country, really, of taking someone's pet when their person is just experiencing a very temporary crisis in their life and didn't have that network of friends and family who could care for them, and their pet was their life. So that's what we saw, the need, and we just kind of hit the ground running. We keep in touch with the owner. They get updates on their animals, and then we happily reunite them when the time comes. So it's the best feeling to see these pets go back to the family who loves them.
So, Robin, I understand you actually made use of Rough Haven. Would you mind explaining to us what happened, how you came to need them?
I had a medical emergency that was pretty serious. I had no one to take my dogs, and to think that I would have to give them up would have been devastating. And a friend of my son suggested that I contact Rough Haven, and they were just a godsend to know that I could go through what I was going through and still know that my dogs were taken care of and that they'd come back home to me.
And now you actually are part of the fostering program, aren't you?
I am. I tell them I have a revolving door. When you pick up one, bring me another. And just to know that they can go home to their people like my dogs were able to come home to me, that means everything to me. I just want to thank Christina. I'm grateful to have met them. They are just a group of the most amazing people. And there needs to be more opportunities out there for people who come into bad times to be able to fall back and know that they can still have their pets, which to me, and I'm sure a lot of other people, means everything.
That was Robin. And we also heard
reporting. Bonobos and chimps have the longest long-term memories ever found in animals. Researchers say the apes are capable of remembering those they've met even decades later. The recognition appears to be influenced by how well they got on with each other. Dr. Laura Lewis from the University of California, Berkeley, told Davina Gupta more about her research.
We studied chimpanzees and bonobos, their long-term social memory, meaning their years-long memory for previous group mates that they had lived with that had either died or left the group some years ago. So to briefly explain, we showed the chimps and bonobos in our study who lived in zoos around the world. We showed them images on a computer screen side by side. So one was an image of their former group mate, and next to an image of a complete stranger. And using non-invasive eye tracking technology, we were able to tell that they looked longer, significantly longer, at the images of their former group mates as compared to the images of the strangers. There were a few kind of very memorable things about these results. One is just how long their memory lasts. So in our main data set, we found that they remembered individuals or looked significantly longer at individuals that they hadn't seen going back a decade. And then in our more full data set, we even had one bonobo, Louise, who hadn't seen her sister Loretta or her nephew Aaron for over 26 years. Because there were only a few trials from Louise, we couldn't fully analyze them, but we also found much longer looking from Louise at the images of her sister.
And compare it with human memory, then. Is it coming close to it?
That's exactly right. Yes, it does actually rival our human memory. As humans, we can remember others for at least 30 years, if not more like 48 years. And so this chimpanzee and bonobo memory rivals that. It comes close to that 30-year memory.
What's the significance of this research then?
I think there's one more fascinating piece of this that I think definitely will help us as humans, which is that we also found that apes' social memories seem to shape their long-term memory. So their social relationships with others, specifically their positive social relationships. So we found that they looked longer at the images of their former friends. And I think this helps us as humans to think about our own memory, how it's shaped by our social relationships, right? And also to hopefully have more compassion for these animals and empathy. And they are incredibly endangered, right? So their environments are being destroyed at astronomical rates.
Yes.
And we now know that they likely remember events in which they are endangered.
Dr. At making an impact. At an eye clinic in the US, they found a new way to get children to try on glasses, and that way is Truffles. I spoke to her owner, Danielle Krull, in Mechanicsburg, Pennsylvania.
Truffles is a extremely fluffy black and white tuxedo cat. She was a stray. Her mom was a stray cat with just really short torty color hair, but she turned out with this big fluffy black and white tuxedo. She's super cute.
Now, tell me how you first discovered that Truffles doesn't mind wearing glasses. How did she ever come to put a pair of glasses on in the first place?
When I got Truffles, she was about 12 weeks old, and she was super smart. And I just kind of had this crazy idea. I wondered if she would put glasses on for me. I have a children's optical shop, and we fit kids with glasses of all ages, starting from infants on up. And probably the most difficult age is like that 2 to 4, where they're really unsure about what's happening. And I thought, well, I wonder if Truffles would put glasses on and I could show them that it's okay. And so I made a pair of glasses, similarly that I would make for an infant, because she was right in that size. And then I just taught her how to take them off. And it just seemed she really took to it very quickly. And she really does love wearing them. And like I said, she can take them off. But often I'll put them on for demonstration, and then I'll be like, oh, you could take them off. And she walks away and is like, no, I want to keep them on.
And I can imagine for the children of the age you're talking about, young children who need glasses. Actually, I needed glasses. I've worn them since the age of 4 every day of my life. I feel really weird without them. But it's a bit of a sort of strange idea for a young child to have to put glasses on for the first time, especially when they see that other children of their age don't tend to be wearing them.
Absolutely. And I think, by the time they come to see me, they've been to the eye doctor and maybe have had drops in their eyes and all sorts of intrusive things. And so I come at them trying to put something on their face, and they're like, no, get away. And now Truffles she's like a charm. She'll put the glasses on and the little kiddo's like, oh, okay. And then we're like, now it's your turn. And then they put them right on, and they just relate to her so quickly. I was really surprised by that and very pleased, of course.
Tell me about colour blindness, because you've got some special glasses for Truffles that mean that she can distinguish colours better, and she likes those even more.
I wanted to bring some awareness to color blindness in kids. About 1 in 12 boys are colorblind. About 1 in 300 girls are colorblind. And I wanted to bring some awareness. And I just thought, well, you know what? I'm going to make Truffles color blindness glasses and just see what happens with her. I know cats do have color deficiency. So I made the glasses. And when I filmed it, it was just like, I have no idea how her reaction is going to be. But when I put them on her, she just sat up so quickly and she looked around, and I'm not sure. There's no way for me to say 100% that she sees color out of them, but she really does love how she sees out of them. She definitely sees differently. They quickly became her favorite pair of glasses, and to the point of, when I try to take them off, she definitely does not want me to take them off. She pushes my hand away and is like, no.
So Truffles has a job as an optometrist, and she's also now a social media star. What next for her?
She also has a nonprofit organization called the Truffles the Kitty organization. And that allows her to help kids and encourage kids to wear glasses or eye patches, or kids that are going through surgeries. And so she's very busy being the chairperson of her organization.
Thanks to Danielle.
Now, where in what's thought to be a world first, Paris City Council has announced it will subsidise health insurance for pets. For around $65 a year, owners in the city can top their own medical care up to cover cats and dogs. The scheme has proved very popular indeed, and now councillors and animal rights activists are also debating whether other pets, including rats, should be covered too. Evan Davis spoke to Catherine Nicholson, the European Affairs editor at France 24, who's also a cat owner and lives in Paris.
Paris really is a city that loves its pets. There are actually more pets per Parisians than there are pets per Londoners. And this is something that was voted in unanimously by the Paris councillors in July. And they're hoping that they'll be able to bring it in next year. And the idea is that City Hall thinks that Parisian pets suffer in particular ways that are more than other places around France. They suffer environmental stress, they say. So they're talking about things like air pollution, which certainly is a measurable problem in Paris. Things like illnesses passed on by rats. We have a massive rat problem in Paris. Cats falling out of windows. Sadly, so many of us live on 6th and 7th floors. And then other things like apartment dwelling animals getting overweight and then getting all the problems that we know about, like joint problems, diabetes, that sort of thing. So they're going to offer this just for Parisian pets.
And it's effectively, it goes on your health insurance. The government pay most of your bill, but you generally have a top-up insurance policy to cover some of it. They will sort out a price that you will pay on your health insurance for your pet.
That's right. So the idea is that this is going to be massively cheaper than the private pet insurance offers that already exist.
It's like Obamacare for pets.
Obamacare for pets. Well, they might steal that slogan. They say on average, a cat and dog insured in France, the owner will spend more than €500 a year. Now, the Communist Party councillor who's proposing this says he's hoping to have it available for between €10 and €60 per year, which just seems incredibly ambitious. But he says that because of the sheer number of cat and dog owners in Paris, he's confident that they are going to be able to get an offer from an insurance company that gets it down to that cost.
Catherine Nicholson, the European Affairs editor at France 24.
Europe's first ever sale of a Tyrannosaurus rex skeleton has raised alarm among scientists. They fear the fossil may end up in a private collection. Towering at nearly 4 metres, the skeleton, nicknamed Trinity, dates back 67 million years. Trinity's been valued at around $6 million and will be auctioned in Switzerland next month. Professor Steve Brossati, who specialises in the anatomy and evolution of dinosaurs at the University of Edinburgh, explains why such skeletons are so significant.
Although I'm a bit facetious, calling this a Frankenstein Rex because it is a jumble of parts from different T-Rexes, it is important scientifically. These are bones of an animal that's 66 million years old. It was the biggest meat eater that's ever lived on land in the entire history of the Earth. It's an iconic animal, and it's one that scientists are very interested in, and the public is fascinated with. So although these fossils are not perfectly complete, they are still hugely valuable both for scientists and for education. So fossils like these, I feel very strongly, do not belong in the mansion of an oligarch. They belong in a museum where we can all see them, study them, and enjoy them. The reality is, if somebody buys something like this, they own it. They can do what they want with it. They might promise they're going to put it on display. They might promise they're going to loan it to a museum for a certain period of time. That's a great thing, of course, if they do. Reality is, most of the time this happens, and we've seen this time and time again. I'm not just being pessimistic here. I'm being realistic. Most of them go up for auction. Somebody buys them. The buyer is nameless. The fossil disappears. It's never seen again. And that is an absolute tragedy for science and for education.
Strong words there from Professor Steve Brossati.